My video stopped. I don't know what I did. I think I hit a button or something, but the pendulum is swinging. And you guys know I talk about the Kabbalion always, the law of compensation, the rhythm of polarity. And the people that have experienced the highest amounts of suffering, right, this end of the pendulum, that pendulum is getting ready to swing to an equal or greater side, opposite side of the pendulum. So for the meek, or for the humble, or for those of us that have suffered or endured, i.e. the indigenous people, African people, the pendulum is going to swing. But we have to be in alignment with the right frequency in order to receive the blessings. You don't just naturally get it. It doesn't just happen automatically. No, God's laws, spiritual laws, universal laws have requirements. Not that you pray a certain amount of times a day, even though that is important if that is your specific methodology. If that's what you believe, then that is the law. Not that you obey, quote unquote, anything outside of yourself, even though if that is what you accept to be reality, then that is going to be the law of your universe. This is about now that internal truth, that internal consciousness, that internal awareness. Allowing yourself to live as a regular, mediocre man in a regular, mediocre life when you know somewhere in your spirit that you're destined to be a king. You can choose heaven or you can choose hell. A lot of people are gonna choose hell. I'm seeing that. Because Satan needs your consent. The darkness, the devil needs your consent. And if you're one of those people that were in the streets partying and celebrating, you have given your consent. People are going to line up for these vaccines, or they're going to cower in their houses afraid of the vaccine. That's your consent. It can play out either way. As for me and my house, me and my son, me and my cipher, we shall serve the Lord. So we won't be moving on fear-based consciousness. I'm not worried about a vaccination. I'm not worried about getting COVID-19. I'm not worried about somebody running into me and being mad because I'm not wearing a mask in a park or walking down the street, taking in full deep breaths of oxygen, and people are looking at me sideways because I'm the only person in public not wearing a mask. That takes courage. It takes heart for me to put out a post and say, hey, the rest, everybody's saying one thing, but here's where we should be focused. And then waiting for the 85%ers to gather around with their proverbial pickets and try to set me on fire. That takes courage and it takes heart. A sister told me that on on Facebook, the post that I put up about masks, she was like, yeah, this post has 100 and some odd likes. It should have 100 and some odd shares. I'm like, man, people will acknowledge the truth. They'll bear witness to it, but they don't want to take the responsibility of actually having to say it, which means you live it. You know what I'm saying? And my role doesn't have to be your role, but this is a mental and spiritual and emotional war. This is not a physical war, even though aspects of it are going to be played out in the physical realm. We are spiritual beings. If you study physics, if you study the scientists of this world, they have been telling us for 100 years now that the 98% of our reality is the non-physical. Only 2% of our reality is the physical. This is the day and time to tap into the non-physical, which is the majority of who and what you are. That ain't got shit to do with your skin tone, or shit to do with how much money you have, or shit to do with what you know. Now, going back to the point that I made about the pendulum swinging and the children of the sun. Melanated people, African people, black people, we have an advantage because we've suffered the most and because we were the first. We do have an advantage, but we have a greater responsibility and a greater accountability. So like melanin being a bonding compound, and I talked about this in the scientific intervention in our affairs. Melanin is one of the greatest blessings that has been bestowed upon us for obvious reasons, which you guys should know. But it's also a bonding compound. So if you get addicted to a drug like cocaine or crack cocaine, it's easier for you to get addicted and harder for you to get off of. Why? Because melanin once it accepts a foreign substance into the body, it takes it on as a part of its being. It's bonded to it now. So it's more difficult on a physical level within the body for you to shake it, because your melanin, which is one of your superpowers, has now accepted this foreign entity as a part of itself. And there's a spiritual and a physical connotation to that, but I don't want to get off subject. So we have the upper hand in a certain regard because the pendulum is swinging back to the other end, and because we've experienced so many variances and levels of suffering and levels of oppression and levels of pain, that if we can get in alignment with our higher selves, we will experience an equal or greater amount of abundance, love, joy, thriving, inspiration, invigoration, power, real power, God power. But we got to get in alignment with it, or we can go down with this ship. I am on the ship. I'm on the Titanic with all of y'all. And I, as much as I would like to be quiet and not warn you and not sound the alarm, I'm on the ship with you. My son's on the ship with you. We're heading for an iceberg. You see the iceberg, and the only thing you... 2020 is the year of the visionary. 2021 is the year of knowing. If you are stuck in a race-based consciousness and you are stuck in fighting against the system of racism, white supremacy, you're going to miss the lesson. And that's not to say that it's not important that we focus on that aspect of the war, because it's just another level of the higher self and the lower self battling it out, so to speak. But some of y'all are becoming so focused on white people that you've lost sight of God and yourself. I think that's all I wanted to say. The universal laws, God's law, is different than man's law. The requirements and the stakes are higher because it's all about being internally focused and having knowledge of self, of your shortcomings, as well as your destiny, however that plays itself out. Most of us are being ruled by our lower selves, by fear-based consciousness, by victim-based consciousness. COVID-19 infections are soaring. Lockdowns could be coming. I just got a notification from USA Today. And I've been getting them all day. The program is right on schedule. The plan is right on schedule. And if you somehow think that one president coming in office is going to deter the agenda, dancing in the streets, celebrating, partying, Satan needs your consent. Congratulations, you've given it. ZaZaAli.com is my website. Don't mistake my passion for anger or fear. It's like I said, I've been serious for 20 years. I'm letting my hair down now, as short as it is. I'm relaxed now. I know now. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even know if 2021 I'm really going to be putting up a lot of videos, because I think I've said what I needed to say. And I get a lot of weird energy on social media. I think I'm going to start to pull that in to where only certain people have access to me. But you can never say that I never warned you and warned us and warned myself. I'm shipping out books. I've been shipping books for 3 days now. So if you placed an order, you should be getting a notification, if you haven't already, that your book is on its way. And thank you guys for your support. Thank you so much for, supporting me, all the birthday love. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And hopefully something that I said in this message will resonate with you, to take what's happening in the world seriously right now. Not too serious where it takes you outside of your square, so to speak, but just to be conscientious about your surroundings and about what's really happening in the Jedi mind tricks that are being played on the world right now, and what that means in the bigger scheme of things. ZaZaAli.com is my website. I appreciate you guys for your time and your attention. Peace and love.